I'm Brandy, otherwise known as the Terrorific Lady, and welcome back to Retro Horror School, where we discuss, dissect, and analyze horror from the 1970s through the 2010s, and talk about horror, why it matters, because it does. This week, I want to talk about my experience at Planet Comicon in Kansas City, but not in a recap kind of way, and not in a here's everything that I did over the weekend kind of way, because if I did that, I don't think it's going to get to the heart of the matter and why this weekend stayed with me in the way that it did. Yes, there were big, exciting moments and moments that I'm going to remember for a very long time. But what made Planet Comicon matter to me was bigger than one moment, one panel, or one highlight. It was the feeling of being there. It was the atmosphere. It was the energy. It was, for a while, fandom being in front of me, all around me, and me being able to be right in the middle of it and inside it. I think that hit me so hard because I wasn't at Planet Comicon just as a fan. I was there as a creator too. And that changes the experience in a way that I don't think can be fully understood until you're in it. Going into Planet Comicon, it wasn't just some casual con trip for me. I had my own panel. I prepared for it very seriously. I structured it. I created the slides, everything, because I wanted to have a solid plan A with enough room to be flexible if and when I needed to. So even before I set foot into the convention space, this had a very real weight for me. This was something that I had worked for. This wasn't just me showing up to walk around and have a good time, which of course, yes, I wanted to do that too, and I did. But I was showing up with something to do and contribute, something that was mine. One of the biggest things that stayed with me is that the atmosphere mattered just as much as the headline moments did. I've already said the weekend was chaos, fun, good memories, and that's still a good way to put it. Walking the floor, taking everything in, being able to see all the different booths with all the artists and the authors, to see all of the different cosplays, and to see just the big crowds, all of that just made the whole thing feel alive. It made the weekend feel like an actual experience instead of just like a checklist of items to do on a to-do list. I think that gets flattened when you go to conventions, because sometimes at conventions, the biggest story afterwards becomes, what did you do? Who did you meet? What panels did you go to? What did you buy? And sure, those things matter. I'm not pretending that they don't, but what also matters is those little in-between moments too. It was being able to move through the space and take everything in. It was the rhythm of the weekend. It was being surrounded by people who cared enough to show up. I love online fandom. I do. I love Retro Horror School and being able to respond to comments here on YouTube and to also talk with everybody on Instagram and Threads. I love it. There is something about being in the middle of something you love in person that's hard to explain unless you've been there and felt it. Online, fandom can be immediate and communal and fun in its own way, but in person it becomes tangible. You can feel the vibe and scale of it, and you can feel what it means to other people as well. That alone made the weekend memorable. Then there was my Would You Survive the Horror Movie panel. I think the panel is what made the entire thing snap into place for me, because I really did expect it to be small. I expected only a small handful of people to show up. It was a big room, and I absolutely did not think I would fill it. I was prepared, I was ready, but my mindset going in was, oh, it's going to be modest. I don't think I'm going to fill the room. A few people will show up, and that will still be fine. It will still be okay. Then before the panel, a crew member said, anybody here for the Would You Survive a Horror Movie panel, please line up near the wall and get out of the center of the hall. And the line was huge. That was one of the moments where your brain kind of has to catch up to what your eyes are seeing, because I was truly shocked. I was not expecting that. And then not only did people show up, the room was standing room only. Standing room only. That is still wild to me, because when something like that happens, you're trying to stay focused and remember, okay, you're here to do a panel. That's what you came here to do. But then there's this very human reaction of, oh my God, there's a line. And oh my God, the room is filled up. And oh my God, it's standing room only. People are here for this. They lined up for this. They wanted to come to this panel. And that did something to me. It really did, because it made all the work I did feel tangible in a different way. Because it can be a lonely process, researching, scripting, putting something together. But to see it in a room with people responding to it in real time, wowie. I had a plan A. I had everything ready to go. I knew what I wanted to do. What surprised me is that the scenarios that I put together and the horror movie survival rulebook discussion took a little bit less time than I thought it would. What really changed the energy of the room was the Q&A section that I had in there. And what surprised me is how many people wanted to know my opinions and thoughts about horror. It hits differently live. It really does. It's one thing to post a video, and it's another thing to see everything in action. That kind of live interaction had a different kind of energy to it, and I felt it. Then after the panel, people came up to talk to me. One came up just to thank me for the panel and that they had a good time. And another wanted a picture with me. And that surprised me, but also in a very good way. And it wasn't just that the room was full, is that people kept wanting to engage after it was over. They wanted to talk, they wanted to ask questions, they wanted to connect. And when it ended, I was on a high. I felt pumped and I felt freaking awesome. And that feeling came from the fact that I wasn't just attending the event, I was a part of it. I was putting something out there for everybody, and that made a big difference. Then, of course, there was meeting Gabriel Luna, which was one of the major highlights of my weekend and definitely deserves its own moment here. I had him sign my Tommy Miller Funko Pop, which I got right here. And I got pictures and selfies with him, the selfies which he took himself. But what made that whole interaction stick with me was how warm the entire exchange felt. He asked if I was a hugger and gave me a hug. He was very talkative. I told him that I appreciated and enjoyed his work, and he thanked me. He talked with me about what he was signing and was very excited that it was a Funko Pop. He said his favorite cousin's name was Brandy. The pen that he picked matched my glasses. He's very animated with his hands when he talked. He's a hand talker just like me, and in his excitement, his hand gently slapped my arm, and we had a laugh about it. And when it was all done, it wasn't like, nice to meet you. It was, see you on down the road. And what sits with me, it wasn't just like, hey, I met somebody who's on a TV show and who works in movies. It sits there as a very human interaction. It was funny, it was warm, it was personable, it was easy. It didn't feel forced or stiff. And it didn't feel rushed in that weird kind of detached way that sometimes those moments can. It felt good. Genuine warmth lands and it stays with you. But even that, as memorable as it was, still folds into the major thing that I took away from the weekend, which is that Planet Comicon felt meaningful because it felt real, lived in, and human. When I look at the biggest thing that Planet Comicon confirmed for me, it is honestly this: Retro Horror School, making videos, running panels, moderating panels, doing interviews and Q&A. This is what I want to be doing for the rest of my life, being in those bigger spaces. And that feeling got stronger this weekend because, sometimes you know what you want in theory. You say it out loud, you write it down, because I've said it out loud before that I want Retro Horror School to be my main full-time thing. That is what I'm working toward. But every once in a while, you have an experience that makes the feeling harder to ignore. It stops becoming just this abstract kind of thing and just clicks for you and you feel it in your gut. That is what Planet Comicon did for me. It made my creator identity feel a lot more tangible. It reminds me that the horror fandom and retro horror school is something that I want to participate in a lot more deeply. It reminds me that conventions can be places where you can contribute and connect with people, places where something that you have been building starts to meet with people in public. Those two worlds collide. And I think that's why the in-between moments mattered so much too. They kept grounding the weekend into something that was a lot bigger than just a cool interaction or a cool something that I saw. They made the whole thing feel like an experience that I was living. So when I look back on Planet Comicon, yes, I think about Gabriel Luna, and yes, I think about the standing room only panel. Yes, I think about the floor, the atmosphere, the chaos, the fun, all the good memories. But more than anything, I think about how real it all felt. And that's the word that I keep coming back to. Real. Not just the fandom part or the fan part, but the creator part too. And that means a lot to me. Let me know in the comments if you ever had an experience at a convention or at a fan event or at a horror movie screening or just even going to a horror movie that reminds you, hey, this is why I love horror so much in the first place. If you enjoyed this video, support Retro Horror School by liking, commenting, sharing, and subscribing. Next week, we're going to be getting back to the Wes Craven retrospective series with the movie, one of the movies that he's probably the most well-known for, besides Nightmare on Elm Street, Scream. As always, thank you for being here. Class is dismissed. For now, I'll see you next time. Bye.